So let me ask this question, and I think this one is important in terms of the role of women, what they think about that, and where they think that, quite frankly, white men ought to be ruling, which I think is sort of, when you think about a democracy, that is not where we are. And when I think about all of these things that are happening around diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, it feels like that movement is really at the core of that. Will you talk to us a little bit about that?
My gosh, there's so much to say about all of this. I mean, first of all, the anti-DEI push is just sort of a new iteration of the old, I would say, um, Jim Crow mentality, right? Unfortunately, not conscribed to the history bins. Um, it's sort of throwing everything they don't like into a bucket. It's a way that the movement taps into both examined prejudices, but also sometimes unexamined prejudices. It taps into grievance. I mean, like the movement really, and then we can talk about gender after, but I want to talk about this anti-DEI push because I call it a kind of anti-woke derangement syndrome. you know, um, this is a movement that, listen, a lot of members of the rank and file do have some legitimate grievances related to the fact that we've had this massive economic inequality over the past decades where you get this huge upward concentration of wealth at the very tippy top of the economic ladder. So a lot of members of the rank and file are feeling like, oh my gosh, it's harder for me than it was for my mom and dad. They could afford a house on a single salary. When we were born, my dad was working, my mom could stay home for a few years to raise the kids, and it wasn't an economic crisis. Today, you've got two parents and you've got three jobs, and they still often can't afford a decent life for their families. But if you can, movement leaders want people to focus on scapegoats. Scapegoating is key for any authoritarian project. Think about authoritarian leaders all over the world and throughout history. They always have a scapegoat, people to blame their problems on. So if they can get members of the rank and file to blame DEI for the fact that their lives are harder than they should be, well, you've totally distracted them. It's almost like that shiny laser pointer cat toy.